Hi, this is Jack Downs. I'm making a video for you of the Introduction to Images plus the Image 1 assignment for people who need to review this or people who might not be in class. So you've already used images. Let's have some more information about them. You need to know these three major image types and what they're used for. JPEG is for photos. You're familiar with that. So regular photographs. GIF, some people say GIF, but we'll say GIF. And PNG, that's how we say it, PNG, is for solid color type things like logos, things that have large chunks of solid color, not these gradations in color that photographs have. GIFs are also used for animation, as you've probably seen silly animations like this one here, a cat in a box, that looping kind of animation. GIFs and PNGs are used for transparency. PNG has multiple levels or layers of transparency. In other words, if you have an image that just simply has especially a logo that's a transparent background, that's probably best and smallest as a GIF. But if you have multiple levels of transparency, like a transparent background plus a drop shadow, that would have to be a PNG. This next slide is out of your textbook, and it's more information or similar information said in a different way about these three major file types. So I'll let you look at that yourself. So you need to know that information for a future quiz. You also already used the image code, IMG, SRC. There's always equal sign, there's always a quotation mark, and usually it's just the image name that goes in here, unless the image is not in the same folder. We always need alt text, alt, because that's for the visually impaired. People will turn images off. If the image is not available, the alt text would be useful. And for SEO, search engine optimization, so images can be searched. But we could also add width and height into images, and it could help them to load faster. We don't change the width and height of the actual image, but these are the actual width and height. These numbers don't need units because it is assumed that images are all measured in pixels. PX is the abbreviation for it, but we don't even have to use that in here because width and height of the image is in pixels. We never use that to resize, and honestly these days that's often done in CSS instead, using the width and height there. Images are inline elements. They go inside a block element. They can be links as you've seen. You can find an image size with a right click. So for instance, if I go to SUNY Plattsburgh website and let's go to the journalism and public relations major page, just because it's a little simpler page, and that's the department page. I'll go down and there is our department chair, Colleen Lemza. I want to learn about that image. I can go right click and say open image in new tab. The image is now open in this tab, and I can see it by itself. I can see the file name of it right there, right? That's of course the file name. But also if I hover over the tab, it'll tell me the size, 150 by 185, and that is in pixels. Notice also, just coincidentally, that the name of the image includes the width in the name. That's commonly done, just so we can keep track of images and realize what size image that is, because we often make multiple sizes of the same image for use in different places. And let's get rid of that, and let's get rid of that, and get rid of that, and here we are back again. Okay, good. What else? So there are new types of images. One that's not too new and is pretty commonly used now is SVGs. SVG is a scalable vector graphic, and they are a different kind of image. They aren't a bunch of stuff that's actually come in actual real pixels. They are the mathematical description of the shapes and paths that make up an image. They're not going to be photographs. They're going to be things that are logo-like, right? That can be easily drawn. Other images like JPEGs are bitmap or raster images. They're arrangement of pixels. SVGs are faster, smaller. The best thing is that they can be resized at any size and they don't lose any resolution because they don't depend on resolution. And they can be animated. If you want to learn more about them, this is a good website. And we'll take a look at, let's do a rectangle, a plain old rectangle. This is what a rectangle looks like, and this is the code that creates it. And realize that it doesn't go get the image of a rectangle, it actually just draws it. it tells you the width and the height, and then it draws it with this code. It's actually drawing it. Let me close that up too, and that. I'm back here again. And we have two newer file types. These are both bitmap formats, but they're better quality and they're much smaller. They are not that widely used yet, so you're not going to see them around very much on the web yet. Since we're talking about pixels and so on, we should realize that pixel means picture element, and it is the smallest visual unit on a display. So the smallest little dot of light as light is displayed on a screen. We've standardized this. CSS3, the newest CSS, has standardized it at 72 pixels per inch. There's a lot more to resolution, and there's different displays that have different resolution, but we'll just say, for us, web images are 72 pixels per inch. And if you're interested in other sizes, and this will be asked on the quiz, although we actually design for all different sizes now, if we're thinking about desktop and these days laptop also, we tend to say the screen is about 1024 by 768 as a base number, as a standard. That will fit on a lot of screens. However, when we remove the toolbars and everything and so on, we really design for about 1080 or 1060 by 700. So that's the width, 980 or 960. And the reason we like 960 is it's so easily divisible too, but 980 would be fine also. That's the width. 700, we call that above the fold, which is an old-fashioned idea from newspapers, which means before you start scrolling. Of course, there's no fold on a screen, but it's what's visible when it first appears. We assume that about 700 pixels will be this distance here. Okay, and that is the end of the presentation. So let us move on to the exercise. You have an exercise that starts out something like this, and I ask you to have Photoshop up. It's going to take a while to load, so open that up right away. And make a project folder. Within that folder, you have originals. Within the project folder, you're going to make a root folder. And then within the root folder, you can make two subfolders, and that's new. Call them thumbs and full. And the idea is we're going to take some photographs. They're going to be as if they're the full-size images that came off your camera. They would go in the originals folder. Those would be way too big to use on any website. We're going to make a large one and a small one of each, using a slightly different method, but still using Photoshop. The large one is the full, and the thumb, we call it a thumbnail. A thumbnail thing is a small size one. The idea being that we might display the thumbnails on a gallery page. You might click on them and go to another page. But we're not doing any web documents in this case. The only thing that's going to be in these two subfolders of your root folder are two images in each. We're going to start with two images, make a big one and a small one of each. And the big one is going to go in full, and the small one's going to go in thumb. But what are the dimensions going to be? Here they are here. It's going to depend if they're verticals or horizontal. We have one of each. So you have to pay attention to that. So it's either 500 by 375 or 375 by 500 for the full. And for the thumb, it's 100 by 75 or the other way around. Notice how vertical and horizontal images, in this case, the width and the height flop. So if it's horizontal, it's going to be 500 wide and 375 deep. So that's more rectangular in a longer way. And what else? Let's go ahead and get started in Photoshop and see. Oh, by the way, I wanted to tell you that, yes, I already made my folders. And my originals, I have downloaded these two images from Moodle, as you should. If you go to Moodle, this is where you would look like, and you download with a right-click, save image, save link as, in the case of Chrome. Okay, I'm going to close it up since we don't need it right now. We still have that up, good. And let's go into Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop two images onto here. Oops. Hold on. Sorry, a little hiccup there. Too many windows screwed up my recorder. So I dragged and dropped two images on here, and it took a long time for Photoshop to open them. But we're really going to first just use the gym one, which is gymnastics. This one right here. So what are we going to do? Well, the first way we're doing this is when we want to size a photo, but we don't want to crop it. We're just going to actually make it a certain width and then let the height set itself. So this is when you don't want to crop the image, you just want to size it down for the web. Okay, which is one practical situation. But this photo is huge, so it's going to be smaller. So what we're going to do, go under File, Export, Save for Web. Save for Web method actually allows us to set a size and also does other work on the image to make it really much smaller. We're still only seeing a tiny bit of the image. It doesn't really matter. We don't need to see the image here. However, over here in the presets, I don't know where you're going to be starting, but you want to make it go to JPEG high, which is in the screenshot as part of the homework. Okay, so look at these widths and heights in pixels. They're enormous. I said in the vertical, and did you notice that this is a vertical image? I said that a vertical is going to be 375 for the full and 500 height. But I'm not putting, I put 375 pixels, px, in there, but I'm not changing the height. Remember, we're not cropping here. We're letting, go say in the width, we're letting the height be what it wants to be. Okay? Because this is not a cropping tool, this is just a sizing tool. It doesn't change the proportions of the image. And I'm just going to say, we leave all the rest of the settings the same. I'm just going to hit save. Okay, it's going to ask me to save this. I'm going to save this into the full. So I'm going to go into my root folder, go into full, and I'm going to call it, I don't remember what the instructions said, something like Jim, full, and Jack, whatever. Okay, good. And I'll hit save. One other nice thing about Save for Web is it doesn't change the original. It's always like a save for a copy, which is also what you'd want to do. You want to always keep the original safe and just make copies of it in the sizes that you want. And then we're going to do the same thing again, though, except now at an even smaller size, right? Save for web. And this time, though, remember I told you if you look in the instructions for a vertical, the width is going to be 75. This should stay automatically there. And the height would be 100, sorry, 75, not 4, would be 100, but it's really going to be 109, but that's fine. We're not cropping, right? Okay, we hit save. But now we're not going into full, we're going into thumb. And I'm going to call this Jim, thumb, Jack. Good. All right, so hit save. All right, next we can close this image up, we don't care, and we're not going to save changes to it, no, because we don't want to disturb that original. Next we have this baseball image, and it's of course a horizontal, and we're going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to decide I want to set it, I want it to be exactly in the full size, 500 by 375. So how would I do that? So I'll click on the cropping tool, which is over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably about 5 down, crop tool right there, and it automatically puts a crop on there. Now, I don't know where you're going to be here in this pull down. Probably you'll be on ratio, but where you want to be is width by height, width x, height x, resolution. And I did this before, so these numbers are sticky in here, but it says 500 px and 375 px and 72 pixels per inch, and that is what we want. Please watch out. A common problem here is that if it doesn't say px, it might actually be doing this in inches. So make sure you type in there 500 px and then 375 px, not inches, because inches are so much bigger it will kill your computer if you try to size it in inches. It would be trying to make it enormous. So that is a certain proportions you see, which are not exactly the proportions of the image. I can click in here and move the image around underneath this cropping block, but eventually I can just double click in here and it will accept the crop. Hey, it seems to make it so small. Maybe do Control plus to make it a little bigger, but that's fine. We are making it smaller. So it made it smaller now to this certain size, but we're going to still do export, save to web, save for web. This time we don't have to change the numbers or anything. Make sure it's still set on JPEG. We just say save. It's doing some other work to it, removing some colors that aren't seen on the web and making it even smaller still. This is going to be baseball full Jack, and it's going to go into the full folder. So I'm going to go up one level and into full and hit save. And now I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to make it even smaller. I don't have to crop again, though. I already did the crop, right? I'm just going to go File, Export, Save for Web. And now I'm going to make the width, it's going to be 100, And 75 is automatically the number that comes up because that's based on that same proportions. And I will just say, okay, it's going to make it really tiny, except this time it's going to go in thumb. And it's going to be b-ball, thumb, jack. And there it is. I say save. And I'm done with Photoshop now. I can close it up. I don't want to save my changes. And if I go back in my folder, take a look and see. If I go into my, see the, well, first we'll look at originals and see how big they are. 1.6 meg, or 1600K, or 2.2 meg. And they became, if I go back and go into my other folder, the full got to only 67K and 25K, and the thumb is down to 6K and 4K. So they've gotten amazingly smaller. So your goal to finish this exercise, you need to zip the root folder, the one that has those two subfolders, and submit that on Moodle, and that will complete it.